Got an interesting video for you today. University versus degree apprenticeships from a financial perspective. In this video, I'm going to be doing the good old comparison between university and degree apprenticeships, going into things like salaries so that we can sort of look at the financial perspective of things, exactly what it says on the tin. Just before we do that, let me introduce myself. My name's Owen. I'm a degree apprentice and I help people get degree apprenticeships in the engineering, technology and finance industry. So let's get into this video. University versus degree apprenticeships from a financial perspective. Just so we're all on the same page, what is a degree apprenticeship? A degree apprenticeship is a post-18 option, okay? So it's an alternative to university. Most people, you finish your A-levels, apply to university, go and study a degree at university, okay? This is an alternative to that. It's a different post-18 option you can do. So instead, you can apply to degree apprenticeships, go and do a degree apprenticeship. And what it is basically where you get paid to do a degree and a full-time job, okay? So people like to say, oh, the benefits of a degree apprenticeship are you get work experience and all this, and you can learn practically, and like, yep, those are benefits. But the number one is salary. Let's be honest, the number one reason people want to do a degree apprenticeship is because you're getting paid to do a degree and a full-time job, okay? So that's why I'm going to make this video about financial perspective, because it's what people care about the most. It's the most important thing, salaries. So we're going to get into some real salaries. Starting off, what are the starting salaries you can get in year one of a degree apprenticeship? But these can actually range. It's going to be different for different companies, different industries, all this sort of thing. But these can range anywhere from 18,000 all the way up to 32,000. Now, what's interesting is I actually tell my students, because I help people get degree apprenticeships, I tell my students, don't even bother with the ones that are around 18,000. I actually tell them to focus on the high-paying degree apprenticeships, which pay £23,000 or more, okay? Because when you're going to some of the big companies, they do pay these numbers. They do pay 23,000. They do pay 25,000. They pay more than that. So I say focus on those, okay? Because it means you can just get the highest salaries. You might as well. So here are some examples of companies. KPMG, they pay £23,000 to £25,000. JLR pay £25,000, and Amazon, they actually pay 32,000 plus. So that's basically the highest paying degree apprenticeship is Amazon. They pay a lot of money, okay? So what I've got is I've got like a sort of Notion table here where I've got like a table. I'm going to do this side-by-side comparison of how much you can earn so that we can do this financial thing, okay? So I think I'm going to take the average salary as £25,000, okay? Because as I said, I teach my students basically only bother with the £23,000 plus ones, and you can see like a lot of the higher paying, like the big companies that I help people with, like I've helped people get into KPMG, JLR and Amazon. They're basically paying £23,000, £25,000, £32,000. So I think it's 25,000 is a safe average, and basically salaries like increase every single year in terms of like inflation and that sort of thing. So by 2025, it's like £25,000 is a very good estimate. Now, on average, a degree apprenticeship is about 4 years, okay? So it varies between different schemes, different programs. Some can be 3 years, some can be 5 years, but on average, it's 4 years, okay? So let's put 4 years in there here. Now, a good question is that people ask is, what are your financial prospects? So can you earn after a degree apprenticeship? Okay, so you do your degree apprenticeship, get your qualifications. What are your prospects there, and how much can you earn afterwards, okay? And there is some very good, solid data on this provided by the government. So if we look at this table, and we're going to focus on median annualized earnings, so like they're just making it sound fancy, like average salary, right? And it's specifically higher level 6 apprenticeship. So they have basically level 6 is just a fancy way of saying degree apprenticeship. Okay, it's a level 6. That's why I've highlighted in red. And you can see here the average earnings, the average salary for a degree apprenticeship 1 year after completing your apprenticeship is £35,000 860. So we can add that into the table here. So I'll basically do the degree apprenticeship side of things first, and then we'll get into the university side, and then we can do that side-by-side comparison. So there we go. That's what you're going to be earning on average at the end of your degree apprenticeship, £35,000, and like we'll even be safe about it, and we'll just say £35,000. Just round it, just to make it look nice and clean. So that's that. Let me add another thing to this. You're going to be getting yearly pay rises, okay? So it's not just going to look like 25,000, 25,000, 25,000, 25,000, massive jump. It's actually going to look better than that, okay? It's going to more look something like this. And I'll just do a disclaimer now, and then I won't mention it for the rest of the video. This is all very generalized, average. It's going to be different for different companies, different industries, okay? So don't take all of this as truth, like this is what you will be earning in year 2. It's like on average, this is the trend of how it's going to work, okay? Of course, every single company does things differently. This is just from my experience. This is how things work out on average, okay? Basically, as I said, yearly pay rises, probably going to be averaging 2,000, 2,500, something like that, as I said, depends on the company. But it will look likely something like that, okay? That's like your sort of earning path at one of these bigger companies doing a degree apprenticeship, especially like the engineering, technology, and finance industries, and then you'll finish off your degree apprenticeship with an average salary of about £35,000. Okay? So let's go into the university comparison. So university, it's going to be 3 years going to university, if you're not doing a master's, which I'm assuming you're not. 3 years going to university, and then you're going to go into a graduate scheme. Okay, that's what like the main thing people do after university. They like apply to a graduate scheme, which is sort of a program for people who've just finished university to get like 1, 2, or 3 years experience with a company, and then they might get a full-time job after that. Okay, so what's the average salary you can get in a graduate scheme after going to university, so that we can sort of do this side-by-side comparison? Well, there's actually like loads of different data on this. Like it's hard to get a proper figure for this because I looked at loads of different places, and the numbers just vary massively. Like you get some places saying 33,000, some saying 27,000. You got 29,000, 26,000, 32,000, right? Of course, it varies between different industries, varies between locations. But I think a good figure to go with on average, I think, is £30,000. Okay, because obviously there's some places which say a bit more, 33,000, 34,000, 31,000. There's also ones which say under 26,000, 27,000, 28,000, 25,000. So I think it's safe to basically say the average graduate salary in the UK these days is around £30,000. Okay, and straight away, I think you can notice what the problem is here. In your 4th year, after doing university, going to a graduate scheme, you're already earning less than a degree apprentice. Okay, so that's the first thing. You're literally on a side-by-side comparison, you're going to be earning less. Okay, and then likely if you get like a similar sort of pay rise here, again, you're sort of constantly earning less. But on top of that, you've also had 3 years of earning nothing, and they've had 3 years of earning about £25,000, £30,000. Okay, so you're like doubly worse off at the moment doing university. Okay, you're starting to see this comparison. But don't worry, this actually gets worse. Okay, so already it's bad. It's like, okay, you're earning less. Congratulations, you haven't earned all this. We're just going downhill from here in terms of university. I'll just give you a heads up, give you a warning right now. So, graduate schemes are highly competitive. Let me give you some real figures from graduate schemes. For the civil service, which is a very popular one for a lot of graduates, only 2% of applicants get in. Okay, so that means that if you're applying and there's basically 49 other people competing for one role, so you basically have to be the best out of 50 people. Okay, you have to be a top 2% individual to get into these. Engineering, on average, the sector is 2.5% of graduates get in. Finance sector, 1% of graduates. So basically 100 people are applying for one role. Okay, and I think overall, on average, for graduate schemes, it is about 2%. So basically 50 people applying per one role. Highly, highly competitive. A lot of people apply for loads of graduate schemes, dozens, don't get anything, they don't even hear back, this sort of thing. And what that means is, it actually takes graduates an average of 15 months to find a job. Okay? Because it's not like you just finish university and immediately, boom, I'm on a £30,000 graduate job. It's actually a bit more like this. Okay? It's more like that. Okay, this is realistic university. What we've had here is actually idealized university. In an ideal world, you get into a graduate scheme immediately. Okay, but chances are, because of these crazy competition, because think about it, there's like hundreds of thousands of graduates in the UK every single year, all applying to a couple of competitive graduate schemes like PwC, KPMG, JLR, civil service, all these sorts of things. It's very difficult to get into. So that's why it can take an average of 15 months. Okay, and let's just assume it's 12 months, just to be like again on the safe side. Basically means this year, for most people, you're not going to get a job straight after. This year, you're going to be doing nothing. Well, I mean, you might get like a part-time job working at Tesco's. What I'm saying is, you're not going to be in a graduate job. And it's basically going to look like this. And as I said, that means you're set back even further, because you were set back here in terms of this salary, but now you're set back even further because you had to start a graduate scheme a year later. And then now it's 4 years that you haven't been earning. Right? And then like this can go even further. Like, this is quite a common university path for a lot of people, is if they do something like gap year, finding themselves abroad, right? You do that. Okay, cool, nice. maybe go Bali or something like that to find yourself, right? And oh, that hasn't. Yeah, there we go. And then it looks like that. And then it's like you're even further behind, and it's likely potentially with a degree apprenticeship, it's like around year 6 you could be getting an even bigger pay rise, because these are just sort of like annual inflationary whatever sort of annual sort of 10%y stuff that they might give you. Potentially at the end of year 5, maybe you become an incorporated engineer. Okay, maybe you become a line manager. Maybe you become like go from just being like an engineer to an assistant engineer. Okay, or an assistant software developer, that sort of thing. You might get a big pay rise. £40,000, £45,000, or whatever it is. Because you've been with that company for 5 years. They know you're a good employee. You're building relationships. You've been working on projects. Okay, you've been building up experience. Boom, this promotion comes at the end of year 5. And then look at this. Like, you can see this ridiculous comparison here of what it is to go to university and then what it can be going to degree apprenticeship. Okay, and it gets worse. Like, as I said, this just goes downhill and downhill and downhill and downhill. It's getting worse. University, on average, you're going to have £45,000 of debt. Okay, so obviously with a degree apprenticeship, the degree is free. Okay, so if I want to decrease the amount of debt, like if I want to decrease the debt you have, well, the debt you have is £0. You have zero debt. 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 Okay, so literally all of that salary is yours to get taxed on. So obviously you're going to get taxed on it, but like the rest of it is yours. You're not having to pay back something every single year, right? But with university, this £45,000 debt, a lot of people end up having to pay that back every single year. So the way it works is it sort of works like a tax. It basically taxes you 9% of all your earnings over £25,000. Okay, and that's what you're going to have to do if you go to university. And just to add insult to injury, good old phrase that, this has actually got, like, the student loan you're going to have to pay back has got, like, worse, right? Because previously it was only earnings over £27,295. Now it's earnings over £25,000. So you're going to basically have to pay 9% on more stuff. Before, it got cancelled after 30 years, so you basically had to keep paying however much, 9% per month, 9% per year. You had to pay that back for 30 years till you're like 51, 52 or something. Now you have to pay it back for 40 years. Okay? So that's an extra 10 years where you're probably having to pay the debt back, right? And what it means is before, only 23% were likely to have to pay off that entire, like, £45,000. Now it's like 52%. Okay, so like 1 in 2 of you, half of you are going to have to pay back that full £45,000 over your lifetime. So that's like £45,000 that's just down the drain. Okay? So I've done some like calculations for you in advance, basically working out what sort of thing you have to pay is. And what we can do is then adjust these salaries up here. Okay? Because at £30,000 you're having to pay £450 a year. This you're going to have to pay £675, and it just goes up and up and up. So when you're on a salary earning £45,000, you're going to have to pay back £1,125. Okay, so if we adjust these here, 30,000 will go to 29,550. This one here, I was going to be properly testing my maths, is 1825, I want to say. Yeah, sounds about right. So there we go. That's the comparison you can have there. Obviously, it's not significant. It's not like, oh, all of a sudden you're having to, like, your salary gets halved. No, but it like is £450 at this point that you're gonna have to lose. And you have to think about it. It's not just in these first couple of years, like the first 5-6 years. Okay, we can make this comparison here, knock off a couple of £100, fine, whatever. You have to think about it. When you're 40 years old, in like year 20 or something, year 23, like out of post 18, so say you're like 40, 45 years old, and say you've had like loads of promotions, you're getting a really good salary. If you've gone down the university route, you're still going to have to pay back like £1,125 a year. Okay, let's say you work really hard at your company, you're like 50 years old, you got a nice £60,000 salary. If you haven't paid your student loan back yet, you're going to have to pay back £3,000 a year. Okay, £3,000 a year, that's pretty significant. You wouldn't just throw away £3,000 a year every year. Okay, so you see how it's going to like stack up, and I can't even show the full picture here because I'd have to add like 40 rows, right? Of you having to pay back potentially £1,000 or more back every single year. Okay, so that's the comparison there. And let me just add one final thing into the mixer, as Mbappe is kindly showing us there. And this one final thing is about retention. Okay? Graduate scheme's retention is 72%. So what that means is you do your graduate scheme, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, something like that. 72% of you are going to be kept on. You're going to get a full-time job. The rest of you are going to get kicked off and you have to find another job. Okay? And there have been problems with a lot of companies where they just don't have enough work for graduates. They end up making graduates redundant or just kicking you off at the end of the scheme. Right? And 72%, it sounds decent, but like compare it to apprenticeships. With apprenticeship, there's basically a 94% chance that you have a job at the end, because if you do a good job, they basically guaranteed want you. Okay, 94% versus 72%. So what it actually means is, if we focus on this realistic path, just because this realistic is going to apply to most people. If it lets me delete that. Right, if we add another one in here, and then like, so let's just say we get this pay rise, because this is all like in the future, that's just kind of rough. It could look like that. Okay, this is like the final one here. Because of this retention, say you're one of this 28% who don't get retained, it could look like this. And this is why I wanted to make this video, just to make this proper full comparison. It's not just like a case of, well, you get a free degree and a salary. It's like, just have a look at this fully from a financial perspective. Number one, you're missing out on 3 years of a salary because you're at university, okay? You're then probably missing out on another year of a salary because it takes 15 months to find a graduate job, because graduate jobs are so difficult to get into because they're so competitive. Then, once you actually start your graduate job, you're going to be earning significantly less than what you would be in a degree apprenticeship. And on top of that, you're going to have to owe back money, which you're paying for your student loan every single year, basically, maybe for the next 20, 30, 40 years potentially. And after that, you might not even get retained on your graduate scheme. And you might get kicked out because they don't have enough work for you if you're one of these 28%. Okay? So there we go. That's the financial perspective comparison for university versus, university versus degree apprenticeships. Okay? So if you're interested in doing a degree apprenticeship, then you might be interested in what I'm about to say. So I basically help people get degree apprenticeship offers. These are some of the people I've helped. I've helped them get into JLR, HSBC, Rolls-Royce, KPMG, Amazon, IBM, just to name a few companies. So if you are interested in getting to degree apprenticeship yourself and you want my help, then what you can do is click the link in the description where I'm going to have a program, and it can basically help you get into some of those companies, and it means you can get those financial benefits, which I've gone through in this video today. So I hope this was informative and basically gave you like a full perspective on degree apprenticeship versus university. If you did get value from this video, feel free to leave a like down below. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out.